When I was younger and the UFC first came out, I saw moves like arm bars and triangle chokes and always wanted to know how to do them. And then I did Jiu-Jitsu for like 2 years. And after doing it for 2 years, I still didn't feel confident about arm bars and triangles and all the stuff I used to see in the early days of the UFC. And that made me wonder what I was missing and what was wrong with me. But today, I actually got to practice arm bars and triangles. And here's what I had to say after class.
So today was kind of like a dream come true. I know that sounds weird, but let me explain. Today we worked on two things. We worked on an armbar from guard, and then the final slice, the final piece of the puzzle was a transition to a triangle, which out of 2 years of training, I had a friend, his name was Mike G. I'll call him Mike G. Mike G caught me with an armbar from guard once when we were rolling at the end of a class. And I thought, holy crap, how did you do that? What was that? And he showed it to me in like a 2-minute kind of a thing. And it kind of made sense. And I tried it a couple times, but I could never get it to work. But that was the whole exposure I had to this armbar from guard. You know what? I'm lying. I asked my guy Greg about it in a private lesson, and he showed it to me, but I still didn't quite understand it because it was like, oh, all you got to do is X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay. Today we worked on it. And today we broke it down bit by bit. We had 2 different variations. Then we had to transition to the triangle to make sure, like, if the first 2 don't work, you got option number 3. And son of a biscuit, that was phenomenal because there were details that I never learned. Not that my guys don't know it. My ex-school, my former friends at the old school. It's not that they don't know it. They know that crap well. They know that crap better than most people in the world, in my opinion. But they didn't communicate it in this way, this step-by-step, broken down kind of detailed explanation. And so I got the AC off so I don't hear that noise. I'm sweating a little bit. So I was able to learn the armbar from guard, which is interesting because of my body size and whatever. There's kind of a little bit of modification I have to do, but that crap worked like a charm. And then we got to the triangle, and that was awesome. And that was where my old experience really came into play. You see, I think Gracie University is for everybody. It's not specific to your game, your body, your style. Anybody can do it. I said that on yesterday's video, but to tweak it to your specific game, your specific strategy, that doesn't exist so far in Gracie Combatives, which I appreciate. The reason why I'm bringing that up, let me explain, is big legs, big body. So the triangle doesn't always work for me. When I go for a triangle, I kind of have to hip out twice to get the angle to finish the triangle. And so normally what I do, if I can't hip out twice, if I hip out twice, I used to call it the 2-for-1 special. If I move twice, you already know it's coming. You're gone by the time the second move gets there. So the compromise that my old instructor showed me was, hey, you can do, I think he called it a TP choke. Basically, I can just kind of close my knees and straighten my legs and get the same kind of triangle in that sort of motion. So that works for me. And I got to kind of play with that a little bit today. Not rolling, of course, but just kind of say, hey, you're already here and it's almost finished. Our instructor, this guy, Chris, he was like, Chris, all you got to do is bring your knees together and you're going to finish it. And he's right. And I've done that before successfully when rolling. So that was a nice thing that he recognized, that he saw that, and it worked for me without me having to take another class or take another lesson. So that was some body customization. That was an opportunity to learn or to discuss something that works specifically for me. But the beautiful thing about Gracie University and Gracie Combatives is it works for everybody. And if you can't do something, or if something's difficult for you, you can tweak it and modify it a little bit so it makes sense for you and for your body type. And so I got to do kind of a little modified triangle choke, and I still did the triangle by the book. I just have to hip out a little bit more than the average bear. And so by doing that, I was able to learn 2 things that I was very interested in learning. I've always wanted to know how to do the armbar from the guard properly, well. I've always wanted to know how to do the triangle properly and well, which I feel like I had some knowledge on that. But today was great because we got to dial it in a little bit more. I got to break it down. Again, we weren't going to rolling. We were just working on the actual technique. So spending the time in the technique, breaking it down step by step, variation by variation, was like Christmas for a guy like me. For a list maker, a detail guy like me, this was wonderful. The armbar from guard is something I've wondered about for such a long time, and I was finally able to do it and to understand some of the finer details to make it a reality. Learning the technique was fantastic. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Then we did standing clinch against an aggressive opponent, which for a guy who's done Taekwondo, who's done boxing, who's been a bouncer for years, dealing with aggressive opponents and clinching is kindergarten. That wasn't hard. Covering, shielding, covering your head in the helmet, as they call it, that's some foundational stuff that I think is great. If you've never been in a street fight, if you've never been a bouncer, if you've never competed in boxing or taekwondo or any kind of combat sport where distance and managing distance is, because let's be honest, it's second nature to me at this point. But for a lot of people, they've never done this before. They've never fought competitively. They've never done any striking, and they've never been in a street fight. So yeah, this is stuff that you should learn. And for me, it's kind of like, meh, all right, it's like remedial, stuff. But I understand it's part of the program, and I want to understand the whole program. I want to know it from beginning to end. And so it was nice, it was fun, it was exciting that I got to do some stuff that I've always wanted to learn. You ever see a move on TV, UFC or whatever, and you're like, hell yeah, I want to know how to do that? And then at my old school, I kind of halfway learned it, but we never really focused on it and broke it down. We did break down the triangle, which is why I was successful with that. But for the armbar from guard, 2 years, I never learned it. I never learned it in this kind of a step-by-step way. And if memory serves, I don't know if it's in the curriculum at my old school. It might be. But this is some stuff that everybody should know, everybody wants to know. So that was exciting for me to learn something I've always wanted to know. It was exciting for me to break something down into digestible pieces, which is how I learn best. And it was nice to look at and understand some different variations so I have options in case something doesn't work. There are options in the armbar from guard that I never would have tried. There are details in the armbar from guard that I never would have attempted, I never would have understood. If just asking the homeboy Mike during a roll, hey man, what did you do there? That lesson from Mike in those 2 minutes or whatever wasn't enough. That lesson in that role wasn't enough to make me feel like I understood it. And I understand it so much better now. I'm not a master, but I have a working freaking knowledge on 3 different guys in our class this morning that I can do the move, and I feel confident in the move, much more confident than I did in the past. And here's the weird part. In order to complete this whole combatives program, I have to do this class 2 more times. So imagine I do this 2 more times. I'll be that much more confident, that much more dialed in, that much more practiced, and that much more ready to apply this stuff in some live rolls, which I do miss rolling. I say that every time. I do miss rolling, so you might see me at the UFC gym this week trying to choke and be choked, because I do miss that fight energy that I used to get in class. So I do kind of miss that, not gonna lie. But today was great. It was a success. Class number 13, stand and clinch from an aggressive opponent, and also the arm bar from the guard was transitioned into, there was a low variation, a high variation, and a triangle variation, which I freaking love. So Gracie Combatives, you're speaking my love language right now, because my little list making brain is appreciating the slices, the breakdown, and the understanding and the application to everyone regardless of body type, with the option to modify for body type. So I parked this way so you could get the natural light, but it looks like the sun is moving and I'm sitting like I'm in a little cave. So I guess I will end the video, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.